as high as you can go. He's that fraud. He's an imposter. But as you know now, you know that not being somebody who built themselves up, he's now tearing himself down.
Yeah, because I see they actually, like I said, I think it was the Gangster Disciples. Somebody put a hit on him about a month ago. And they almost got him, but.
Well, I had said all along, when somebody gets unfound success, unfound fame, they usually destroy themselves. And, that's why he started dropping mollies in girls' drinks and
and she didn't even know it.
She didn't even know it.
Somebody Baxter, that P.O.P.
Dominique Prince, P.O.P. Don P.
Kerrick Smith, P.O.P. Position of power.
Percy James, position of power.
Jonas J.R. Purnell, position of power.
Dita Cantu, Puda. We want to thank everybody who support P.O.P. up to this part, up so far. We got a lot of new connections, more revenue coming in, so we're going to have a lot of big things, more interviews coming up. So appreciate everybody. The Rick Ross shirts will be at positionofpower.org/online catalog. We're about to launch that. The Gangs in S.A. documentaries, the Be Heard, Be Seen documentaries we're about to launch, and we got another channel with Tori Sledge we're about to launch for the intellectuals like science majors and chemical engineers, all that. And just want to thank everybody.
Also, if you haven't got our Respect Women shirts, y'all make sure to pick those up. PayPal, www.positionofpower.org.
Got them for this many, $10.
$10, man.
You been $10 at the club, you can buy one of these shirts.
Yeah.
To make sure it fits and the collection large.
And shout out to everybody who come to club events too, because y'all been rocking for a minute, and we appreciate everything. We've been supporting with everything.
Yeah, with everybody that's been supportive, man. We really appreciate y'all.
All right,
so hope y'all enjoy this documentary, you heard me? The real Rick Ross. And we out.
Wow, you hear me?
Not the rapper. Not the rapper.
No.
So you currently in LA?
Yeah.
Oh, all right, then. Man, like I said, I've been doing my research on you, but like I said, you the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Two-Way Rick himself.
I was wondering, how old were you when you first started selling drugs? What led you into being, I guess a drug dealer? Was it like poverty and gang activity?
Yeah, well, I was illiterate until I was 28 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of locked out of the job market.
Right.
But I had all this enthusiasm and desire built up in me to be somebody of means. Also, when I went to the movie theater and I saw the movie Superfly, that movie kind of touched me in a way that I'd never been touched before.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a black man stand up to white people and win.
And I read somewhere that like you started with a I guess like $100, and you had like a housing system like for people you were selling to, and so it sounded like you already had like a business mindset or an entrepreneur type mentality.
Well, I don't believe that. I think what happened is I started learning as I went. When I first started selling drugs, I knew absolutely nothing about drugs. I didn't know what color it was. I didn't know what it smelled like. I didn't know what it tastes like or anything. I didn't know how to cook it.
Right.
So was your high school tech teacher, was that the first person that got you into the game?
No,
Oh, all right.
So
he's the guy that introduced me to the Nicaraguans.
Oh, to Blandon?
Correct.
All right.
Well, not Blandon, but Blandon's brother-in-law.
Oh, all right.
So, what was your first encounter with drugs? Like, what got the ball rolling for you?
Well, I was first shown drugs when I was 19 years old by a guy by the name of Michael McLaurin.
Okay, and I mean, how did y'all meet? Did he walked up to you and said, potential, you have potential, or,
Oh no, this was my big homie.
Oh, okay, so you grew up with him?
Correct. And what happened is he came from San Jose University, where he was playing football, and said he had the new thing.
Okay.
Right.
So at that time, was that new thing, was that cocaine, or was that the first form of crack?
At that time, it was cocaine. We never called it crack anyway. That was something the government put together, because all we did was took it, put baking soda on it and water, and cooked it up.
Right.
And we call it rock cocaine.
Rock cocaine?
Correct.
All right.
So were you one of the first people, I mean, obviously in California, making crack cocaine, and or like how much would you say you would I guess cook on on the daily or on the average?
Well, it varies. I sold drugs for about 8.5 years.
Right.
So at the beginning, I cooked very small amounts, and at the end, I had days that I would cook 200 keys.
Yeah, because I seen, like, estimated wise, like, they estimated at one time, a day you would make over $2 million a day. That's, you do that times 30, that's like 60 mil. Your enterprise was like 60 million a month.
Yeah. For like 2 years, I would make at least $1 million every day, and it would go up sometimes to $3 million.
God, that's a lot.
Because I think about it, I look at, you look at a lot of other drug dealers, like during that time and before your time, like Frank Lucas, a lot of other, there was flashy people, they stood out, they wanted the big home, the flashy cars, the mink suits, the Cadillacs, Escalade, the Bentleys, Rolls Royces, things like that. But everybody said you was a one-on-one man, they could catch you in the hood and they wouldn't be able to tell you from one of your clients, one of your clientele. You was always in the hood, you was involved. You had you sponsored a football team. You had a hotel with your mom, and you opened an auto parts store with your brother. They say you could walk down the street and probably walk right past you and wouldn't even know it's you, compared to a lot of these other flashy type drug dealers. What made you wanna? What made you? Everybody say you was such a humble person. How were you able to stay that humble, making doing what you were doing? Like, you was the king of LA.
Well, I never wanted to be a drug dealer.
Mm-hmm.
So what I wanted to do was get myself a start. I knew that with my handicap or disability to read and write,
mm-hmm.
I knew that I was going to need a start somewhere else. So when drugs came along, I took that as a way to jumpstart me. I don't know if you remember the movie Superfly, but I kind of used him as a roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
And Superfly was always trying to get in the cocaine business and get out.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my goal, to get in and get out. So I took my money, instead of buying cars and clothes, I bought businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And gave people jobs who I felt were in the same type of position I was in.
Right. So what businesses did you start with the the money that you were making?
Yeah, besides the hotel and the auto parts store.
I had yards, I had beauty salons, I had shoe stores, body shops, construction company, apartment buildings. I had quite a few businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you find time to manage all that? Would you have just people that you trusted, that you grew up with?
Correct. If it was somebody who wasn't selling drugs, then I would trust them into running my business.
Right. And so with I mean, I know that you had the money to fund the businesses, but did you? Because you said you really didn't know how to read or whatnot. Did you like find people who went to school for it, or just had knowledge on it and give them the money, or like how did you?
I tried to hire my friends that were smart, who I thought was smart, and who I thought would do well in business, who had the ambition and the desire to grow a business.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So what was your master plan like? Because you said you didn't want to be, a drug dealer. So what was your plan to leave that lifestyle alone and then move into, your business side of things? Did you ever plan on just leaving the drug game alone completely before, you actually got caught up with the law?
Absolutely. The plan all the time was to leave it alone, and I constantly looking for businesses. Also, I had a record label too back in the day. The name of my company was Beverly Glen Music.
Mm-hmm.
We did Anita Baker's first album, and I financed it.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, I know.
And when you're like networking and associating with so many people, in the drug game and whatnot, even though I know you surrounded yourself with a lot of people that you trusted or that you may have grown up with, did anybody ever try to, say, well, if I do something to him or have someone do something to him, I can, be in his position and basically sell the drugs you're selling and basically cut you out, the middle?
Not that I know of. Some people tried to kidnap me one time, but other than that, I heard a rumor one time that guys were getting together because I was driving the price down so low. But this was my own guys who I helped get started.
Yeah, because I heard at one time, when you first started off, when you hooked up with Blondone or your plug as Blondone, you was getting it from him so cheap that it was either join you or you was gonna run them out the business because your prices were so low that no other person could compete and make a profit unless they were scoring from you.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. I'm credited with bringing the price down from when I started. I was paying about I was buying ounces for $3,200 an ounce, and when I quit, I was selling ounces for like $300.
Wow, wow, yeah, that's a major takeover.
Yeah, so that shows you the way I brought the prices down, and I'm credited with doing that.
Yeah. So when in '87, when you moved to Cincinnati, was that your way of trying to leave the drug game alone and focus on your business aspect in life? Just try to get away from the LA scene and just leave the whole cocaine scene alone?
Yeah, well, the cops out here had got frustrated.
Yeah, that's when they started the Freeway Ricky Task Force on you.
Yeah, and they got frustrated because they couldn't catch me even after planting drugs on me. They still couldn't build a case. I was still able to maneuver out of it, and then I decided that it would be better for me to go somewhere else in another city where these cops didn't have the same type of reach,
Mm-hmm.
and than to stay here and get framed and get a case for something I didn't even do.
Wow. So during that time when you was in LA at your height, did you have cops on payroll, like, to watch out for you, to let you know when they was going to try to bring the heat your way?
No, I didn't need cops to do that. The cops was too dumb.
Oh.
They couldn't catch me anyway. That's why they converted to planting drugs, because they couldn't catch me. They couldn't catch my guys. So what they did is they converted from police work to becoming criminals themselves.
Yeah, because I heard, like, when they did make busts, they would keep the drugs on them in their car, so just in case when they would catch you, they could throw all it on you, or call their squad car that was patrolling with the drugs on them to say, we just busted Ricky Ross with some kilos on him, or, some crack on him, just to make a case on you.
Absolutely. That's exactly what they did.
That's horrible. That's
And
crazy.
they were eventually indicted. I got them indicted too.
Yeah.
And that's another thing when you said you got them indicted. In contrast to I guess Nicky Barnes or Frank Lucas, the only time you've ever testified was against the system and like a police officer, but you've never testified against any of your friends or anybody you've actually sold drugs with.
Absolutely. And that's why the rapper one time called me an informant, because I told on some of his friends.
Yeah. Now, how do you feel about the correctional officer that tries to portray your lifestyle? Like I said, I remember a while back you filed a lawsuit against him. Like I said, because to me, when I first heard of Rick Ross, I knew he wasn't you, but I didn't do my research on the rap of the correctional officer. I actually thought he may have sold drugs, but once I found out, he's a whole correctional officer, he used to actually arresting, hold people accountable for the things that you used to do, and now he's making millions on millions portraying a lifestyle that he actually never lived. He's rapping off of other lifestyles that, people like yourself actually live. So how do you feel about that?
Well, the guy's a fraud to the utmost degree.
Yeah.
As high as you can go, he's that fraud. He's an imposter. But as you know now, that not being somebody who built themselves up, he's now tearing himself down.
Yeah, because I see they actually, like I said, I think it was the Gangster Disciples, somebody put a hit on him about a month ago, and they almost got him, but.
Well, I had said all along, when somebody gets unfound success, unfound fame, they usually destroy themselves. And, that's why he started dropping mollies in girls' drinks and
and she didn't even know it.
She didn't even know it, Any man would know, what I'm saying, that's rape.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody with common sense would know that, you can't have sex with somebody that can't give consent.
Right.
And he didn't have enough sense to know that he can't do that. But, he's been getting away with taking from people all along, stealing people's lyrics, stealing names, using names that he not supposed to use. So he didn't know it.
Yeah, it's not just him, but it's a lot of other rappers out there that, they rappers want to be trappers instead of actual people who then trapped and made their way into the rap game, and they're just making millions and millions off of talking about a lifestyle that they never lived, that they want to live, but they just using it to try to make a profit off of.
I agree, because they don't understand that a real boss, he takes care of the community. He makes sure that everybody in the community is doing as well as he can, He stretches himself to the limit to make sure that the family is good. And, right now, our family is hurting real bad over here. I go to all these ghettos all over the place. I just left Denver, Colorado, and I was up there with some of the guys who are trying to reform gangs and whatnot, and they're doing bad. They're doing bad in North Carolina. I just left there. They're doing bad in L.A. And these guys who call themselves gangster rappers, they don't even know it. They don't come to the hoods.
Yeah. Because like I said, I read, man, like back in your height, like I said, you used to walk down the street, hand out money, throw block parties, big old barbecues, just to give school giveaways for the kids and stuff, just to try to better your community where you came from. Because like I said, you came from poverty. You know what it is to go without. And your whole mindset, was to help others help themselves,
Yeah, but these guys, they use their fame to put their nose up in the air and look down on everybody else. I'm walking the streets right now. You know what I'm saying? Every day I'm out here in somebody's ghetto, walking the streets, trying to be an example for these kids that they can do better and that they should do better.
Right. And are they trying to send you back to prison because they feel as if, these rappers actually are, creating a message and glorifying that lifestyle, and are they trying to send you back to prison saying that you speaking to the youth that you're trying to glorify selling drugs and you're condoning it when there's actually rappers who are?
My P.O. did say that. He did try to send me back to prison. He took me to court. The judge got so many letters, because one of the things that I've been doing is by me hitting these schools, is they don't understand that right now I'm building a base or a movement that nobody really knows about. People can't see it. It's not on the internet. It's not on TV, so they don't see the movement. But these people out here, they love me in these streets. They love it. What I stand for, that I'm a real man, and I'm not gonna roll over for no couple $100,000.
Right.
I'm gonna be nobody. Well, I ain't gonna say that on the air, but I ain't gonna be nobody boy. where they can just do anything and put their hands on me and touch me any kind of way they want to. I don't stand for that. I'm gonna stand up. I'm gonna be a man. If I'm broke, or if I'm rich, if I'm in jail, I'm still Rick Ross. If I'm on the street, I'm Rick Ross. If I'm broke, I'm Rick Ross, and I'm gonna demand my respect. And I notice dealing with a lot of these industry cats who run the industry, they don't respect you. So that's why my movie's not already financed, because I let them know right off the bat that I'm the man. I'm gonna be calling the shots, and ain't nobody gonna be telling me what to do and when to do it.
Absolutely. So you think that the lawsuit that you're filing to get your name back from the rapper Rick Ross is a way for them to kind of, silence you? Because I've seen it's more so working in his favor.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Universal is one of the strongest corporations in America.
Right.
They heavy in the prison industry. So when you go to court and you fighting a case, and you got to have a judge, and they automatically look at me as a second-class citizen because I have a felony on my record. And one of the things that the judge said is that one judge said that I don't deserve copyright protection on my name. Wow. Because I had used my name before in criminal activity, forgetting that I also had used it in legitimate activity. So, when you're a convicted felon, when you fighting against a guy or a corporation that has put billions of dollars into the prison industry, so that means that they've been lacing the judge's pockets. And also the judge had one time worked for the law firm that represents Universal, Munkle and Toll. So, you fighting against all that. It's only natural that Universal got their way. And not William Roberts, because William Roberts, he just, to me, he's just a puppet.
Right.
How do you feel about Jay-Z testifying in that case?
Well, I thought that Jay-Z should have testified because he knew or should have known who I was at the time, and he was instrumental in signing this guy or bringing this guy to death camp.
Mm-hmm. All right, on another note, back to the days in court, how do you feel about when did you find out that the CIA was behind your plug Blondon and they were supplying him with the money and the cocaine and allowing him to traffic it into LA and to you and other drug dealers like that?
I found out when the Sacramento Bee posted an article with a 3-series story called Dark Alliance. When they posted that and I read it, it all came to my attention.
Was Gary Webb, was he one of the writers who posted that? Because I remember he did a lot of work exposing all that stuff that the CIA did, trying to cover up, trying to fund that the war in Nicaragua they was facing in Central America. And he pulled up a lot of articles that showing that the CIA and the government was trying to hide certain stuff from the people.
Yeah, it was Gary Webb article that put me on it. He started it, and then once that happened, then I started to read and study different books that was written on the Iran-Contra situation in Nicaragua.
So did that? Because I remember the first time, I think it was one of the times you got arrested and sent to prison. You were supposed to go there for life. Was that one of the reasons you got out early? Because of all them findings by the government?
No. I got out of prison on that case because I wasn't a 3-striker.
All right.
Okay. So when was the first time when you got incarcerated? It was close to 5 years or over 5 years, or?
Well, that time I went in because I got out because of the cops. Remember I told you about the cops that was planting drugs?
Yeah. Okay.
Their testimony really wasn't valid. Was going to be tainted, so I got action from that case.
Right.
That was the time that they could have gave me a life sentence as a what they call the RICO Act.
Oh, all right.
Those cops' testimony being tainted, they weren't able to prosecute me the way they wanted to. It would have been, if they would have had a tough case coming in with these cops, knowing that these cops have been planting drugs and lying and fabricating search warrants and doing illegal stops and searches and taking the money, buying houses, and it was just, it was a mess for them. So it was easier for them to make a deal with me than to take me to trial and maybe lose and maybe to embarrass the whole system. And at that time, I was still young and not really educated, because the system should have been exposed from that day on. But I didn't know, and I thought it was better for me to take the deal. They offered me a 6-year deal where I had to do 5.5 years, than to take a chance and go to trial and look at a life sentence.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's crazy. And how did Oliver North play a part in? And because to my understanding, like, I don't know if he sold drugs as well, but I mean, the guy is on television, has his own TV show, and I don't see how that's fair or just at all.
Well, Oliver North was the go-through to the White House.
Mm-hmm.
I read a couple books talking about how that whole thing played out, and he was the guy that kept everybody from getting directly to Ronald Reagan and George Bush. Because Nicaragua was George Bush's and Ronald Reagan's pet peeve.
Yeah, that's why they funded that's why they used cocaine to fund their cause down there.
Correct. Well, they were sending weapons over to Iran, which was illegal, because we wasn't supposed to give Iran anything because they was considered a terrorist group. But they were sending weapons or selling weapons over there to raise money to finance the guys in Nicaragua.
Wow, and you ended up, wow, that's crazy.
Now, how do you feel about when George Bush took office, before he left out, pardoning all of the, I guess it was the CIA agents or the government officials that got sent to jail during that time frame? How do you feel about him giving pardons to all of them, just letting them,
Well, they always pardon their own.
Yeah.
That's nothing new. I was more amazed that he gave Oliver North a pardon. Seeing Oliver North get a pardon after his role in this whole thing really shocked me.
Wow. And last question, back to after your incarceration and kind of leading back into where you said you weren't as illiterate when you first started off. When you were incarcerated, did you start educating yourself? Did you get better business savvy and just take initiative into improving yourself while you're incarcerated?
Yeah, I studied while I was in prison. I read over 300 books before I left prison, all business related. Right now, I think I'm just as capable as any man on the planet to do anything that I want to do, and that's why I'm able to do all the things that I'm doing right now. Right. I'm putting my movie together. I just signed Nick Cannon on to play my role in the movie.
Yes.
A lot of people think that was crazy on my part, but people are going to see. Also, I'm working on two articles right now in magazines. I got one coming out in LA Magazine. It'll be out in June. And I got another one coming out in Esquire Magazine. It'll be out in September. The guy that's doing the LA Magazine, he's going to relay some things to the world that I told him when I was in prison. And they're going to see just who I am and what I'm capable of. The mayor of LA just asked me if I would come out and speak. Not the mayor of LA, but the guy who's leading the mayor race right now, Eric Massetti. His party just asked me if I would come out and speak at one of his fund rallies. I also endorsed him already on video. So I'm doing things right now that is crazy. I started a t-shirt company about 3 months ago. Right. And right now my t-shirt, I'm approaching 5,000 t-shirts sold. So I'm showing skills in business that is even amazing me. Right. I had the privilege of meeting a billionaire about 2 weeks ago, and it went really, really well. And I think that I may have the financial backing that I've been needed. I'm also working on a program with a bishop here in LA. I don't know if I can mention his name either yet. but he's a big bishop. He's very powerful. And we're working on a program, a reentry program. So when guys get out of prison, they'll be able to come to our program and get jobs doing construction work. So I also have some internet properties, Freeway social media, Freeway mixtapes for artists. Artists that has mixtapes can get their mixtapes downloaded. So, I'm doing things that not only a convicted felon wouldn't do, but the average person is not doing.
Right.
Not only a thing that a literate person wouldn't do, but just some scholars are not doing it. So I really feel good about where I'm going right now. I'm not really generating the money that I would want, but I know it's a growing process.
Right.
I know you don't make $1 million a day when you get started. I know that you have to sell a 20, and then a 50, and then 100, then 1,000 before you can sell $1 million. So I'm patient. I'm gonna stay the course and just keep grinding until I get to the place that I feel that I need to be in. I also been getting quite a few bookings. People booking me now to come out and speak, and they're paying me. I got a guy that I work with got signed to the NFL this year. So things are looking up.
Absolutely. So we're gonna wrap it up. Is there anything else you would like to anything else you have to promote, or to any shout outs or anything?
Yeah, let everybody know, if they would, to go and buy one of my t-shirts. The Real Rick Ross is not a rapper. And when you buy this t-shirt, not only are you helping me stay out of prison, but you're also helping other people that are juveniles and foster kids that I go and speak to. I like to buy books for them so that they can read my 3 favorite books. And if anybody out there never read these 3 books, you definitely should go and pick them up. And if you didn't read them 20 times, you should read them again. The Richest Man in Babylon, As a Man Think, or As a Woman Think, and Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. These books are like magic, and I believe that we all, as a society, should read those books and pay close attention to the principles inside of those books.
Absolutely. And those shirts and the Rick Ross shirts will also be available at our website, and the funds will go directly to Mr. Rick Ross at positionofpower.org, and any other endeavors. We'd be glad to help you. And thank you for the interview. Thank you for everything that you do. And it really means a lot to us down here in Texas.
Like I said, because I know you're a very extremely busy man, and just for you to give 30 minutes of your time to talk to us and let us interview, man, you just don't know how much it means to us. Because like I said, you could be doing anything else in the world right now, but you donated your time, and time is the most precious thing on earth. So we just like to thank you once more again.
And a lot of people don't understand how valuable it is.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Thank y'all. I appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.